Kimraha Huladunia, Fauchagu, Ye Olde Scot the Celtic podcast. On today's show, we'll introduce you to 20 helpful phrases for the beginning Gaelic learner, and we'll begin some simple prepositions in Feuchamaich Beagan Gaidhlig. We'll continue our three-part series entitled Celts and the Romans, the dramatic link of two great cultures, with the Celts sack Rome in our Celtic history segment. And I will tell you the story of the real monster of Glamis Castle, an actual monster story from 19th century Scottish history. I will tell scary Celtic stories all Samhain season long until Halloween, or, as the Celts would say, Oiche Samhain, in everyday Celtic ways. And today we'll hear music from Gaelic Storm, Beyond the Pale, and some traditional Gaelic music from the Clare album. Now I've had a request that I make the trivia a tad bit more difficult. However, if it gets a little bit too much, just let me know. So now a wee bit of Irish trivia to test your knowledge to start us off. In 1987, at the age of 27, he became the first Irishman to win the Tour de France race. All right. And before we get started, I want to let you tell you again about this wonderful new website just for Gaelic learning. It is interactive, it's informative, it has tons of resources at your fingertips. It's called learngaelic.net. I have spent a ton of time on this site and it's great. I do it right on my phone, sometimes even when I'm at work. I get a little time and I pull it up and you just click right through, do a couple little courses. It's great. I've learned a lot, and I think the audio parts will help with my pronunciation of the Gaelic, because that's one area I really suffer in. This can be a great tool for you and me in our Gaelic learning, so take advantage of it, because I know I will. Now, Feuchamaich, let's kick this thing off.
Sitting on my hotel bed, pay-per-view running through my head, a foreign film called Missing You, based on a story that's true. I trade my soul at the mini bar, $10 scotch and a cheap cigar. I can't go forward, I can't rewind. You're on every channel on my mind. Why don't you walk through my door? Walk through my door. Why don't you walk through my door? Walk through mine. Outside a storm pours down inside. My head begins to drown. One more should see me through. One more, or maybe two. Now you're just an afterglow, a fading breath on a cold window. My face pressed against the pane. Tell me, are those tears or are they rain? Why don't you walk through my door? Walk through my door. Why don't you walk through my door? Please walk through mine. Slide the lock and close my eyes. Hide behind this thin disguise. Time to kiss myself goodnight. Turn out the light. The don't disturb sign from my door is hanging on my heart once more. I set the clock to 10:30 and my head to never again. Why don't you walk through my door? Walk through my door. Why don't you walk through my door? Please walk through mine.
That was Walk Through My Door from Gaelic Storm's trio album. I had never heard them before the movie Titanic, but I've enjoyed them ever since. It's pretty good music. Now, Han Tom on Feuchamaich Beagan Gaidhlig, it's time for Let's Try a Little Gaelic. Today we'll introduce you to some useful phrases and some simple prepositions. Tashikishin, let's begin. Alright, let's dive right into these phrases. Now I'm going to put everything up on the screen as usual. And these are just some things that, as a beginner, you should know. It'll help you, especially when you're talking to somebody, to give them a little knowledge of what you do know, and it'll help you when you're looking to try to figure out what they're saying. So, let's begin. I'm just going to read you the Gaelic part. You should be able to read the English part right off the screen. Avail Gaelic Akit. Ha Beagan Gaelic Akam. Ha mi Yansika Gaelic. Brin Rim Sa Gaelic. Ha mi Atukshin. Hanyo mi Atukshin. Ha mi Gat Tukshin Anish. Hanyolis Akam, or sometimes it's Hanyolis They just drop the ek of the Akam. I've seen it both ways. So it's Hanyolis Akam or Hanyolis Kanshin Arisht, Kanshin Gunsludak, Anskriv Ushin, Ankudak Mumi. Sorry, tongue twister there. Ankudak Umi. Now this is a real handy one. So you'd say, if you don't understand how to say a certain word, but you want to ask in Gaelic, Kimra Hanasmi. How do I say whatever it is? So say it's building. Kimra Hanasmi, building. And then they'll give you the answer. Jeha Akilakak. Keeligig. Wow, that was a really tough one. Jeha Akilagig. Okay. Avail Shok Hirst. Hami Truv Haley. Hasho Farasta. Hasho Durav. Bialet. Bialev. Gav Maleshkel. And Shay. Now, I will post this up on the screen there, but this link I'll put up will take you straight to the 20 questions, the 20 phrases I just gave you, and then they also have, along with these, the audio, so you can hear it spoken by native speakers, not some dude on the internet in St. Louis, Missouri. Now, I do my best. All right. We're going to move on to some simple prepositions. Now, we're going to do these in groups, 3 or 4 groups. I haven't really know how we're going to split it up yet. But to help recognize the trends that the simple prepositions take, it's best to place them into distinct groups. So I'm going to do a few here and then a few next time. And I want you to get a good grasp on these simple prepositions, because sometimes they're not so simple. All right. We're going to start with ek. At, ek doors, at a door, ek indoors, at the door. And same with air. Air means on, air lepi, on a bed, air and lepi, on the bed. Goon is without, goon chu, without a dog, goon unku, without the dog. Mar is as or like. It's a comparison. So it's a mardunya or marhunya, like a man, and marandunya, like the man. Now remember, mar and goon, they lenite the indefinite nouns except for those beginning with L, N, R, S, G, S, M, S, P, or S, T. All right, I'm going to give you like 6 little sentences here to translate from the Gaelic to the Berla, which is English. And number 1, Hachalam Akandoris. 2, Hanian Er Lepi. 3, Anro E Akandoris. 4, Avele Akandoris Gunchu. 5, Va Antai Mar Antiosta. 6, Va in Chin Gun Tush. Not 100% sure on that one. Twit. Alright. And that's it today. It's going to be a short and sweet one today. But I reiterate that go to that website, learngaelic.net. I've been getting a lot of good help off of that. You'll like the courses and stuff. All right. That was Gry and Tick Oo, Will You Come Dear, from the Clar album of traditional Scottish Gaelic music. Now we're going to delve into the rich history of our Celtic past in our segment, The Celtic History Break. Today's topic is part 3 in the series entitled Celts and Romans, the dramatic link between two great cultures. Part 3, our final part, is the Celts sack Rome. Yay! Alright, let's get to it. Alright, the Celts traveled 80 miles in 4 days to reach Rome after the killing of their chief. Livy describes the scene as they marched purposefully southward across the land. Terrified townships rushed to arms as the avengers went roaring by. Men fled from the field for their lives, and all the immense host covering miles of ground with its straggling masses of horses and foot. The cry went up, "To Rome!" Rome was not undefended. Its army met the advancing Celts near the city, but was quickly defeated. Livy says that the Roman officers and men alike fled at the first sound of the Celtic war cry. The Celts swept through Rome, plundering and destroying as they went. They were the first outsiders to control the city on the Tiber since the Tarquin, or the Etruscans, remember them from last time, rulers overthrown by the Romans more than 100 years earlier. According to legend, the chief of the Celts exclaimed, "Woe to the conquered," as he added to his heavy iron sword to the weights on the scales used to measure gold tribute given by the Romans to their conquerors. It was a remark intolerable to Roman ears, Livy would later write. Intolerable or not, though, the Celts stayed in Rome for 7 months, until dysentery and lack of food drove them out of the ravaged city. They returned to their stronghold in northern Italy, with all the Roman booty they could carry. Polybius wrote that the Romans remained under Celtic domination for more than 40 years. Wow. Neither Romans nor Celts had any idea then that 400 years later Rome would dominate almost the entire known world, controlling Egypt, Syria, Palestine, Greece, and all the way across a giant swath of Europe into Britain. It would not be until the 5th century AD, though, about 8 centuries later, that Rome would again be overrun by invaders. In 476 AD, the West Roman Empire would finally fall to the German Goths. Centuries later, the Goths would become known better for their architectural style, as seen in some of the European cathedrals. And having disposed, at that time, having disposed of the last Roman emperor, who, ironically, that emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was named after Rome's first ruler, Romulus, as you learned in the first part of this. Now, the Celts, like we said, controlled Rome for about 40 years, which incidentally coincides with somebody else coming onto the scene, and that would be Alexander the Great, Now, in 335 BC, Alexander the Great was campaigning in an area known to be as Bulgaria. And he was one of history's greatest generals. He had just defeated the Gedi and burned their capital when he received an envoy of Celtic warriors. The Greek historian Arrian wrote that these Celts, for whom Alexander gave a feast, were a people of great stature and haughty disposition. Knowing of their valor, Arrian wrote, Alexander asked the Celts what they feared most, expecting to hear that it was him himself, since he had made quite a name for himself. But to his chagrin, they instead answered, We fear only that the sky fall and crush us, or the earth open up and swallow us, or the seas rise and overwhelm us. They stood there steadfast, and since these things were unlikely to happen, it seems that the warriors were saying that they feared nothing. Alexander, he made friends of the Celts. Exchanging diplomatic gifts and peace was made. But not for long. Half a century later, armies of the Celtic migration from the area of the river Danube devastated Alexander's homeland of Macedonia, killing its king and heir to the glory of Alexander. From Macedonia, the Celts would divide and proceed to invade Greece along two different paths, being a constant burr in Alexander's saddle. All right. But that's a very lengthy and another story to be told some other time. I hope you liked it today. Thank you. All right, that was a great Irish set. 3 tunes, the Tamlin, Princess Morgan, and the Star of Munster. I don't know the difference between a reel or a jig or whatever, but I love that toe tapping music, and that was Beyond the Pale from Angel and the Seven Stair album, which is a band from Texas, which is really good. Now it's time for Everyday Celtic Ways, a look into how our Celtic heritage is still very much a part of our everyday lives. During the rest of this month, until Halloween or Oiche Samhain, I will be telling scary Celtic stories for the Samhain season. Now you can relive the Mary Culhane story in my August 31st podcast, along with Angeli Du, the Dark Lad, from September 21st podcast. Or I just put up a video. It's just another podcast, but it's all Celtic stories. So check it out on the channel there. It's called Celtic Stories. This week I will tell you about the monster of Glamis Castle. And like all good stories, they have one foot in the truth and another, in good storytelling. So enjoy this story. Now I've done a little bit of video to this, so you might want to, not really video, just kind of put some pictures together and some sounds to make it a little bit more scary. All right, hope you enjoy it. He was an heir to one of Scotland's noblest titles, but is said to have been locked away in a secret chamber in the family castle, his existence denied after being born seriously deformed. Thomas Lyon Bowes quite cruelly became known as the Monster of Glamis, with the tragic birth of his heir feeding the imagination of Victorian storytellers, local gossips, and likely even giddy aristocrats keen to entertain their guests after dinner. What is known is that Thomas was born on October 21st, 1821 at Glamis Castle in Angus, with the official record stating the baby boy died on that very same day. His parents were Thomas, Lord Glamis, son of the 11th Earl of Strathmore, and Charlotte Lyon Bowes. The couple were the great-great-grandparents of the Queen Mother, who was also born at Glamis, as was her daughter, Princess Margaret. Rumors started circulating in villages around Glamis Castle immediately about the supposed death of young Thomas, which were likely fueled by reports from the midwife that Thomas had survived the birth. An apparent lack of a gravestone for the boy probably supported the suspicions surrounding his fate. Over time, the story grew, though. Allegedly, a workman who encountered Thomas in a passageway close to the chapel was offered money by the Earl to immigrate to Australia and never tell a soul of what he had seen. That workman's passed down what he knows to his son, and then it was passed to his grandson. This is how we come to know of the monster of Glamis Castle today, dispelling all myth and rumor and telling the cold, hard facts of incest, murder, conspiracy, and revenge. Added proof of the tale is how the estate manager refused to step foot in the castle after being told about the purpose of the secret chamber. Sir Walter Scott, famous writer, wrote of an eerie night that he spent at Glamis, in which he referred to the secret chamber. Although he mentioned no monster in that article in 1830, a later version of his story featuring the monster appeared in the New York Times in 1864. In 1908 edition of Notes and Queries, published by Oxford University Press, goes into great detail about the mystery of Glamis, with the writer claiming that he had known the story for 60 years. The writer claimed to have spoken to the workman in Australia and had certain facts so close to the truth that it was no surprise when he came up missing. No trace was ever found of him. It's said the story was, and is, that in the castle of Glamis, the celebrated old castle of the Earls of Strathmore, is a secret chamber. In this chamber is confined a monster, who is the rightful heir to the title and property, but who is so unpresentable, so disfigured, that it is necessary to keep him out of sight and out of possession of everything he is granted, he is entitled to. The secret is supposed to be known to only 3 persons: the Earl of Strathmore, his heir, and the manager of the estate. Depictions of the mysterious Earl also emerged in time. Jacinth Hope Simpson, in her book Who Knows, suggested that the boy may have suffered a genetic defect, given that the child's parents were actually cousins first removed. The historian Mike Dash, who writes for the Charles Fort Institute, also wrote of a second secret of the Glamis legend that emerged during the 19th century. Far from being home to an unwanted heir, the secret chamber contained the remains of members of the rival Ogilvy clan, who came from lands at nearby Kirnmere. Unable to admit that he may have been the cause of his son's deformity and mutation, Lord Thomas Glamis filled his son's head with tales of rival clan Ogilvy and the magical vengeance spells the witches of that clan had probably cursed upon him for the wrongdoing by our detached forefathers who clashed with their clan from time to time. Then one day, after members of the actual rival Ogilvy clan had sought refuge at Glamis during a storm, they were allowed in the property, given hospitality as it always should be given in the Highlands, and shown into the chamber, though, where they were barricaded in and starved. Thomas Lyon Bowes, the monster of Glamis, was able to get the revenge he had dreamed of after years of psychological torture by his father. He ripped them to shreds and stacked their bodies to rot. He would not let anyone near or even remove the bodies. He considered their bones his conquest, his trophy. Historian Mike Dash wrote that their skeletons, still scattered on the floor, was a secret that the Lyons family was so anxious to conceal as to kill to do it. While the true mystery of Castle Glamis remains unexplained, it does appear true that the castle was burdened with a particularly dark secret, one that grew and got increasingly uncomfortable, though. Thomas Lyon Bowes, the monster of Glamis, became bored with his secret chamber after a few years, and when he became strong enough, he vanished. He was given a meal one evening, and the next morning, when servants went to collect the dinner tray, the secret chamber door was unlocked, and the adjacent window was open. Footprints could be seen easily in the mud of the dew-drenched lawn. The prints went all the way to the nearby stream and were lost forever from there. Thomas Lyon Bowes, the monster of Glamis, was gone. Claude Bowes Lyon, the grandfather of the Queen Mother, who inherited the earldom in 1865, reportedly said, "If you could even guess the nature of this castle's secret, you would get down on your knees and thank God it was not yours." Reports say that for a few years, the family was forced to make payoffs and bribes to keep any incidents nearby the castle quiet. And then one day, it all just stopped. It is believed that Thomas Lyon Bowes, the monster of Glamis, had died, but no one knows for sure because no body was ever found. The end. Well, that's it for today's show. I hope you liked it. I'm trying to keep this interesting, informative, and fun. For me, anytime you can infuse some Celtic into your day, it's a good day. Now, I can't leave, though, without giving you the answer to today's trivia question. And the trivia answer is Stephen Roche. Now, he also won the Tour of Italy that very same year, and he was declared the world champion of bicycle racing. And he did it without steroids, Lance. So, there you go. Now, I'm going to remind you again, once again, I'm not kidding, this new website, learngaelic.net, it's awesome. Now, I'm not receiving any money from these people. I just think this is a great website. So you got to get on there and check it out. And I also want to promote my YouTube channel as well, Ye Olde Scot. I got lots of videos on there. I got a lot of podcasts now, about 10 or so. I'm doing some extra stuff. I got one just for Celtic Christmas music. He's something you can play in the background, keep the mood during the holidays. And I did a story podcast, like 13 different stories on there, from Irish and Celtic and Scottish. So, something you can, that are not all scary stories. Some of them are nice stories, like Tír na Nog and Dermot and Grania. So, I hope you like them. Give them a try. Marcia leave in Dresda. Bye for now. Now I'm going to leave you with this song. It's called The Nameless Clan, from the Clare album of traditional Scottish Gaelic music. Enjoy.